Hello, my name is Callie. This happened just last month in July. I was in San Diego for a softball tournament and had rented a trailer to stay in with some of my friends. We would ride our scooters back and forth to each other's trailers. Keep that in mind for some context. On the second day of the tournament, I went back to my trailer to shower after my game. Out of nowhere, I heard a loud bang on the right side of the wall, which faced the outside of the trailer. I shrugged it off, thinking it was just my brother playing around. As I got out of the shower, I got a text from one of my friends asking me to ride my scooter over to their trailer and bring a wiffle ball bat so we could play. I grabbed everything and started riding over. While I was riding, I heard a cough, almost like a smoker's cough, coming from the bushes. Startled, I stopped and stared at the bush. A dirty, middle-aged man arose from the bush, smirking at me in a really unsettling, creepy way. Without hesitating, I sped away on my scooter and didn't look back. I finally made it to my friend's trailer and we started playing wiffle ball. At one point, I was up to bat and hit a foul ball into the bushes. We searched for the ball for about an hour, but couldn't find it and eventually gave up. Just as we were turning to leave, the ball rolled right up to my ankle. I turned around and saw the same man I had seen earlier. We all screamed, ran inside the trailer, and told the adults. Unfortunately, they didn't believe us and thought we were playing a prank. Later, my family and I went back to our trailer, but I couldn't stop thinking about the man. Exhausted, I eventually fell asleep. Around 2 a.m., I woke up for no apparent reason and tried to get back to sleep. Before I continue, I need to explain that near the head of my bed, there's a tiny window with small curtains. I noticed a little light outside and moved the curtains to look out. What I saw next horrified me. The man from the bushes was standing outside, shining a flashlight near my window. I'm pretty sure he saw me because the moment I looked, he sprinted to the window, pressed his face against the glass, and started pounding on it. He was making weird noises and chanting. One thing he said still gives me chills to this day. He looked me in the eyes and started yelling,
"He will get you. He knows where you are, and you can't hide from him."
over and over again. I screamed as loudly as I could, waking my parents and alerting the park rangers. My parents rushed into the room, and the park rangers tackled the man outside. We called the police, who arrested him. It turned out he was a child predator who had been stalking me the entire time we were staying in the trailer park. To this day, I still wonder what might have happened if I hadn't woken up in time. My name is Bianca, and I live in Kenya. I'm 15 years old, but this story happened 2 years ago. It's something I'll never forget. My family decided to take a trip to the coast in Mombasa. I was with some of my cousins and siblings, and after about a week, we decided to visit the beach. We stayed until sunset, and then our parents told my oldest cousin to drive us home at 9 p.m. while they went to a club nearby. Everyone was doing their own thing at the beach. I was with my cousin. Let's call her Jane. Jane was my favorite cousin, and we got along like best friends. As we walked along the sand, I noticed something on the ground. It was 1,000 shillings, a lot of money in Kenya. Excited, I picked it up. Jane and I decided to keep the money a secret, not telling our siblings because we knew they'd borrow it. We couldn't stop talking about what we'd spend it on. At 9 p.m., my cousin drove us home. The place we were staying in had 6 bedrooms, and I shared one with Jane and some other female cousins. Jane and I shared a bed. That night, we stayed up watching YouTube videos before falling asleep. I woke up suddenly at 4 a.m. I thought I heard someone talking, so I assumed my cousins were still awake. I tried to get up to go to the kitchen for water, but I couldn't move. My legs and arms felt paralyzed. I tried calling out to Jane, but no words would come out. Panic set in. My eyes darted around the room, and that's when I saw it. Near the door stood a dark figure of a man. He was tall, about 6'5", and wore a long coat. My heart raced because I knew no one in my family owned such a coat. The figure started floating, and I broke out in a cold sweat. Then it spoke in a low, chilling voice.
Return me to where you found me.
I was frozen with fear, not understanding what he meant. Suddenly, I felt a pair of hands shaking me, and I woke up gasping. It was Jane. She said I was breathing heavily and sweating. When she asked me what was wrong, I told her it was just a bad dream. I stayed awake watching TikToks until sunrise, trying to shake the feeling. The next day, we went to a museum. I managed to forget about the dream for a while. Jane and I spent the money we found, and everything seemed normal. But that night, it happened again. I woke up to Jane shaking me, asking if I was okay. This time I told her about the dream. She hugged me and tried to comfort me, but I couldn't sleep. The cycle repeated for several nights. Jane grew worried and told my parents about the reoccurring nightmare. My parents decided to take me to a priest for prayers. Afterward, I started sleeping better, and the trip eventually ended. Back home, I was sad to be away from Jane. That night, I went to bed thinking everything would be fine now, but the dream came back, only this time, it was worse. The man was closer to me. I could feel his presence looming over me. Trembling, I asked him why he was tormenting me. His reply made my blood run cold.
Return me to where you found me.
Finally, I understood. He was talking about the money. My heart sank. I'd already spent it. Panicked, I told him the truth. The man began to mumble strange words, and before I could react, he entered my body. A searing pain ripped through me, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. My mother sat beside me, looking terrified. She told me she'd heard screaming and rushed to my room, only to find me banging my head against the wall repeatedly until I collapsed, bleeding. I told her everything, the dreams, the man, the money. She took me to therapy, and over time, I started to recover. Since then, I haven't had the dream again, but I've never forgotten the man's words or the lesson he taught me. Some things are better left where you find them.